My conversation today on Behind the Act is with Ian Brice. He's an artist, a songwriter, and a producer. And today we're talking about artistic authenticity and how taste is more important than originality. And we also talk about the differences of how we both approach finding inspiration and striking the iron when it's hot. I'm Seth Schaefer. This is Behind the Act with Ian Brice. What motivated you to move to Nashville? And talk to me about the naysayers and your experience since then.
Well, my motivation for moving to Nashville was really just, I wanted to live in a musical city, kind of challenge myself more. I kind of felt like I did everything that I wanted to do or kind of could do in that area of Florida, like as far as Loose Bolts goes. And I just lived there for a long time, and I was like, I think it's just time for me to move on and try something, just put some pressure on myself,
Yeah.
To really, see what I'm made of in a city that, it's not the most cutthroat place in the world, but it's certainly like saturated with other people that are in the same, maybe have the same kind of dreams or ideas about their life as me, So that was really it. And also like the geographical sort of benefit of, living in a, Nashville is, it's like this kind of circular thing, right? Or at least like the city of Nashville, kind of, if you look at it on a map, it's like it goes like this, all the little areas, but if you go anywhere outside of here within like 6 hours or maybe even 8 hours, it's like, it's a perfect place to route tours from, and
Right.
That was really like what I wanted to do. I was like, I need to go, because if you live in Florida or Alabama, you're driving, it's just harder to do that kind of stuff, like if you live in Miami, you're better off probably just playing in Florida for a long time, and different places in Florida, I think, or something like that, or like Texas, you know what I mean? But that was really it. I didn't really have any grandiose ideas of, like, I'm going to go to Nashville and make it.
Right.
And also, like, another thing was, like, that area of Florida that I'm from, there's not a lot of studios. And people don't really, I don't know if people really know how to make, not a lot of people know how to make records there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And was a big draw for me, too. It's like, there's so many people that are interested in making, well, mostly digestible, sort of compact music, right?
Yeah.
Here. But I also know that there are people here that are trying to, they're a little harder to find, but the people here are interested in making things that are interesting, but still digestible.
Right.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah. Tell me about Loose Bolts. What is that?
Loose Bolts, like the name, or like how did I come up with it?
But then also what it is. I mean, so it's your band, right? I mean,
it's my project. I kind of like, the way I describe it to people currently is, essentially what it's always been is sort of like the same sort of creative dynamic as like a Tame Impala situation or something like that, or like, not to compare myself to Prince, but a similar situation to where like, it's one guy that has these sorts of musical downloads from the ether that just so happens to be able to like play a bunch of different instruments, and to at least to the extent of where like if I have an idea, for the most part I can make it happen. I can play the drums, I can do all this stuff, so that's what it is. It's that kind of situation. I guess I don't know, it just kind of started, like, I think I came up with the name in like 2014, and I was playing drums in like 2 different bands at the time. I think you probably heard that on the thing that I posted. I was playing drums in like a death metal band, like very inspired by like Black Dahlia Murder and just really like actual heavy music, not like deathcore or anything like that. And then I was also in like a punk band called the Pistachios, which was, we were like on the way to greatness, man. But then it just didn't happen for one reason or another. But I was like, I guess I don't even really know how or why it started happening, but I guess I just started putting like demos on, kind of like aging myself here, but like I started putting like demos and stuff on MySpace when I was like 13, 14 years old. You know, but at the time I was like kind of getting into metal and getting more into drums and just trying to be a great musician than I was interested in like writing songs, I guess. And I also was pretty self-aware, I think, for my age, like as far as the music stuff goes, not just like, not in general, but like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But like, I was like self-aware enough to where I was like, you know, I really care about music, and I really think that the songs, like the music that I really love, it's like has something, it's like edifying, or it's like contributing to my worldview in like a meaningful way or something like that, or like my self-image, you know, and like, it's like, how is a teenager going to do that for other people? Right. So I was like, you know, maybe I should just stay involved in music as like a drummer or a guitar player or something like that, but like live some life, you know, experience some things, allow things to sort of unfold the way that they're going to unfold for me, just based on my, you know, whatever that's based on, you know, many factors, and just, you know, just so I have some stuff to write about, you know, like it's one of the things that kind of annoys me about like some of these people that major labels prop up. They have nothing to say. Not very rarely do they, you know, not in the past like 20 years at the very least, you know. It's like, you know, people used to, I think it was more common for people to have something to actually contribute to the world of music. Yeah. You know, like the canals of musical history, or like the lineage of it, you know. And I don't know why I was so like privy to that when I was that young, but was just how I looked at it. I was like, why am I going to try and like convince people that I have something special or meaningful to say when I know I don't, you know?
Okay. So talk to me about your view of where the value of a song comes from, when on one end it's, you know, the artist having something that's important to say that they want to share, but also, you know, if I hear a song that you wrote and it means something different to me than what you meant for it to mean to you. Right. You know, like, so I guess it's a clunky way of me saying, if a 13-year-old writes a song that like really moves people, like, is it not valuable?
Well, no, that's definitely that is one of the aspects of music that is inherently subjective, right? I don't think I'm kind of weird. I actually do think that you can judge music objectively. But I
want to talk about that.
It's very like, I haven't completely thought it through.
Okay.
It's not like I haven't written it out. I don't have like
Can we playfully roll over that though?
Sure. I mean, like, I don't have a manifesto or anything for it. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think that like when we get into conversations about like, when people get into conversations about the greatest rapper of all time or something like that, right? Or like the top 5 of all time.
I am objectively not that guy.
Sure.
Just, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah. Just in case you were wondering. Yeah. Any attempted freestyles would make people immediately cancel this interview.
Yeah. No, I just think there are ways that you can, outside of just the music, that you can actually, there are certain things to consider, like cultural impact. That's a big one. That's a huge one. You know, but I don't think I'm thinking clear enough right now to really get into that. Okay. Again, like it's
next time. I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't have a manifesto. Maybe I'll make a blog post about it sometime or something.
Because I think about like cultural impact, and just because a label dumped a bunch of money into marketing and promoting it, like songs that are, I would think objectively not as good as some other songs. Yeah. Might have huge cultural impact or whatever. You know?
Totally, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. One of the greatest of all time, I think, like, you know, like across the board is like Lil Wayne. I mean, dude's got catalog, cultural impact, incredible rapper, incredible writer. You know, I mean, I think like if we're trying to empirically decide like if somebody is one of the greats of all time, like he's got a lot of the criteria, I think, you know.
Kind of like if you were to, so the way I'm hearing that and attaching it to, let's say, corporations, we could say the greatest corporations of all time could be judged by their gross profits, but that's not necessarily comprehensively a good way to do it.
It's not quantifiable. Well, no, that is quantifiable.
Well, it's quantifiable, but it's one part of the picture, like where like what is it, Tom's or whatever? Is it Tom's?
Tom's the shoe?
Yeah, where they give back, you know. Or I don't know, like or other organizations.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Like how is this contributed to the world other than just making money?
There's the money side, but then there's the heart side. There's like, you know, and the life side and the human connection side and the whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
What motivates you when you're motivated? I guess like when you're writing a song, when you're releasing a song, like what drives you?
What motivates me during the initial stages of like writing a song is just like an internal sort of indescribable feeling where I'm like, I don't know, like I can just feel when it's coming, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really sure how to explain that.
Yeah.
But I just get this little sort of like thing. It's almost like, my subconscious, I don't know, like it kind of reminds me of this. You ever seen the John Mayer talk at Berkeley?
I'm not sure.
It's like a little series. It's on YouTube. It's great. But at one point he talks about how like he's talking about songwriting, and I think he's talking to more like inexperienced ones or something. But he's like, you know, at some point in your life, your subconscious, or like whatever's down here is gonna, you know, it's gonna be like, get down here. Like you have to face it, you know? So I think that's kind of that's that feeling that I'm like trying to tiptoe around and like describe or something. But
yeah,
it's just a thing that happens. So like whenever that happens, I'm like, I kind of stop thinking about it. And I just kind of like, try to be one with that thing and just let it kind of happen. You know, I'm very much not schooled or educated in writing. You know, I mean, I was always pretty good with English and all that kind of stuff. But like, I think I do have somewhat of a process as like a writer, like an author or something like that. You know, to where I kind of see. I'm getting a little off track here, but like I kind of see like the creative process is like this. Like some people have like a really kind of sacred relationship, or like they have this relationship with raw self-expression. Like that's the way that you should present things to the world or something like that. But I kind of feel like getting even further off track, kind of. But like authenticity is kind of a farce. You know. So, you know, you have this marble slab, like when that feeling hits me, I feel like it's like it's like a marble slab or something, you know, and then you just, whatever comes out is the slab, right? And then, you know, that's like your draft or something, you know, and then as you chip away at it and you curate your presentation and based on your taste, right? It's all about taste. That is like, you know, that's real authenticity, I think. And that is, kind of forgot where I was going with that, actually. But
no, I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's real authenticity, meaning that's the moment that you're making decisions that make it fully you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I could do something different and steer it in my direction. That's also authentic. It's just, that's my experience. Not, yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Are you driven by oh no, I'm inspired right now and I need to run to my car and, you know, write the ideas down kind of a person, or, well, this is not an and or, but or do you like have committed times every day or every week that you sit down and write? No, so you're okay.
Yeah, man, it's just got to happen for me. I mean, I think that I think I would like to try that at some point in my life. I think I will get into that, but I mean, I've been, I'll say I'll do that more with production.
Yeah.
I'll have a more structured approach to that, because you can get so lost in that world. You know, we have access to every sound ever now, and it just turns into like this. Like if you're like 3 hours into a session and you feel like you're hitting the wall, dude, go on a walk, you know, or like go, you know, whatever. Like, but as far as writing, like, I don't know, man. Like it's, I hate to get into this sometimes because you can get into very sort of pretentious territory very quickly. At least I can, because the way I look at it is very like, you know, it's flow state. You know, it's not like a non-scientific concept. That is a real thing that people have studied. You know, it's like Bob Dylan writing "It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding." He doesn't even remember writing that because he was out of his mind when he wrote it. You know, but he, you know, that's what happens when you're one with like whatever is coming through us, right? Like we are vessels for things,
right?
And whether you think that's a spiritual thing or like a metaphysical thing, like I think that's just true, you know? And I think that's especially true for creative people,
right?
Especially songwriters, you know?
That flow state for me shows up more often when I put practice into something like meditation or literally meditation or something.
Sure, yeah.
That allows me to, well, in my case, not be distracted, you know, like have an environment that isn't pulling me away from that state. But it's like a muscle, of course. Like the more that I engage with it, the better it becomes. And
exactly, yeah.
Some songs that I've more recently brought to close to completion are, you know, came through a process again. Like my friend Kevin, who is doing the song a week thing, so forcing myself to show up every week, you know, or something that I say a lot on the podcast already is the podcast itself forces me to show up every week and hang out with people that I would otherwise not do. Just socially, like it's it's easier to hang out and be alone, you know. So but yeah, the process has helped me uncover more of those slabs that I can deny or enjoy later.
Yeah,
you know?
totally, man. Yeah.
So
like that's like a whole I mean, those two kinds of approaches don't have to be mutually exclusive, you know. I think some people are maybe just more naturally like structured or like disciplined people, you know. And like, you know, even there's some author, I think it was like Mark Twain or somebody, I forget who said it. It's like a quote. It's a very old quote. You know, it's like be extremely disciplined, you know, in your life, so you can be extremely like, you know, violent and you know, bombastic in your art. And I have some respect for that because I know how hard it is to be disciplined. I don't really feel like I'm a very disciplined person.
Right.
I'm very like impulsive, and you know, that leads to a whole lot of other shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like with music, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's cliche to say it, but you know, sometimes like I won't say that being disciplined will take the magic away from it, but I will say that like I don't know, it's just there's something in me that wants to fight against that. Like I don't know.
Right.
It's very strange.
So I'm not saying the same thing, but maybe it's really similar. With, you know, being a person that's neurodivergent, it's easy for me to have times where I'm hyper focused and clear-minded in my tasks that need to get done, or, you know, I'd have a day that's like proverbially an ADHD day where I can also enjoy the process of just kind of randomly getting things done a little bit at a time throughout the day. And like, I used to have guilt about that. And I think realizing that it's okay to also enjoy the process of just getting a little bit done at a time. And like, I'm moving stuff forward and it's good, you know, not that my value is connected to completion or output at all, but like,
No, yeah.
this is kind of a weird connection to that. But I guess what it's saying is like lacking discipline in certain ways, and just enjoying that part of the process, not having guilt about a lack of discipline is probably a healthier way to go about it than at least having the guilt, you know?
Yeah, I think that dichotomy is like really sort of whatever side you sort of sit on that dichotomy, it's like kind of depends, I think, on how you look at life in general. You know, like if you believe in fate or things being meant to be or just allowing things to unfold, you know?
Yeah.
We only have so much control, you know, and it's like, but I think some people are just more in touch with the idea that they are merely transmitting, you know, signals, but also I don't know, it's like, maybe you're not really transmitting signals from anywhere. Maybe it's just your subconscious. It just, you know, you consume things and your subconscious doesn't have a filter.
Right.
So you're getting all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but your filter, right, like is some of that seeps through or something, you know what I mean? And then you get art, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What are you most afraid of right now?
What am I most afraid of right now?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, man, like I kind of had like a moment in the last week where I kind of had like this internal crisis. I was like, I think I'm more fucked up than I previously thought I was, just like emotionally. And that really freaked me out because I've been in this sort of situation where it was sort of a long-winded situation where like I was like, am I delusional? Am I really delusional? Like, has this all been in my mind this whole time? And I don't think that's true, but I was really questioning my sanity to some degree. And so that's scary. It's like, am I, you know, and if I'm not, then what I was experiencing, I don't want to really get into the details of what it was.
Okay.
But like, yeah, so that kind of freaks me out. Just the idea of I feel like I'm a pretty logical dude.
Right.
I don't know. That's weird. It was weird. And like, I guess based on like past experiences with like with relationships, one relationship in particular that I was in, like, you know, after it ended, you know, I just discovered that this person really essentially lied to me about like everything. So that past experience really screwed me up when I was like 19. And then this recent experience, like even playing with the idea that all of this was in my mind, really was like, how fucked up am I really? You know, because we're all fucked up.
I'm reading between the lines a little bit here, I think, and maybe inaccurately, but do you generally use logic and the logic that you think is accurate and correct as a mechanism to be in control to a degree that gets threatened when things don't make sense? That's a really weird way to put that.
No, I think I see what you're saying. I mean, I think I do that less than other people, but there are times when I'm like, okay, I'm the safety, like the defense, it is like a defense thing.
Yeah.
You know? And then when that is like threatened by reality, as it is, not how you see it, right? You're like, oh shit, who am I? How do I see the world? You know, it's like that whole like identity thing.
Yeah.
How you see things and how you see yourself is your identity. And that is like the most addicting thing. Identity. That's why, like, I don't really want to get into this shit, but like, you know, that's why tribalism works so well in like politics, right?
Sure.
And anything at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real crazy fucking thing about our world, you know?
Right.
But yeah.
I'm stealing this from another person, ideas wise, but I believe in the fact that humans are, I'm sorry, you said you don't want to get into it and I'm jumping into it, but I don't like, not with any specifics on anything, statements on politics, because that's boring to me, but but I think humans generally are terrible individuals, as survival, like we can't survive well. So we're built to need social groups around us. So being correct is unimportant. Being accepted and agreeing with a group is important for survival.
Right.
So correctness, and even that logic thing you're talking about, like, like objectively accurate, I'm putting quotes up in the air, because that's from your perspective. And like I feel a very logical person, and I think that I'm accurate in my judgments, but I know if I rewind 10 years ago, I had different views of multiple things that I was convinced I was correct about, and now I'm convinced I was not correct about, so those shifts for me, I'm now imposing that same thing I said to you, is like, I feel safe when I feel logical and like in control, because my logic gives me safety. And when I start to break some of those things down, it feels scary, and I've become more and more comfortable with all of the I don't knows. And I love that. I feel safer and better with politics and religion and whatever. It's like, I don't know. I'm not that cool or that smart. I have assumptions and some ideas, but
Right. Yeah. Totally, man. It's kind of funny, like thinking about how I am such like a dreamer, or such like a romantic, like I have a very romantic view of certain things in life, but then I also am very like the opposite about other things. And I'm like, why doesn't everybody else see this the way that I see this?
Right.
And it's so funny when I think about it. I'm like, am I just am I just an asshole or something? It's like, I don't fucking know. You know what I mean?
I do.
I don't know.
No, I mean, but I guess that's kind of what I was trying to go for, is like, if you're a Democrat, you look at Republicans, or you could look at Republicans as like total idiots. And if you're a Republican, you can look at Democrats as total idiots. And the truth is, like, we are attached to binary realities. Like, we love knowing yes or no, or black or white, or like that is like, give me one of those. But the nuance is where the truth really lives. And so,
like, you got any more of that absolution?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and so, like, realizing that, I'm like, anytime I'm 100% confidence on one side of a spectrum, I'm like, I'm probably wrong. Like, so,
or it's like, you're not probably wrong. It's probably just more nuanced,
right,
than you realize. Or than we care to admit.
Right. There's a theologian named Rob Bell that uses a marker as a perfect example.
I remember Rob Bell.
Okay.
I remember that guy. I grew up in church too. So
okay. Yeah. So he uses a marker as an example. And he goes, if you look at it from this side, it's a rectangle. And you look at it this side, it's a circle. And people from both sides can look at it with complete confidence and complete objective accuracy of this marker being a circle or a rectangle. And I just love that example, because it's like, without perspective.
It's very oblique, I think is the word. Very oblique example, or obtuse maybe. It's like very, which is helpful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, and like unoffensive. I mean, I don't know many people who get mad about a marker.
No,
but no.
Now about a dress. That might be colored gold or blue.
Right,
and gold, or
that's worth dying over for sure.
Yeah. It's worth unfriending people over. Blocking people on social media.
That's so funny. What excites you about the next stages of your life?
That's a great question. What excites me about the next stages of my life? I mean, I think just seeing the fruits of my labor pay off. I think that's exciting. I think also the idea that my life will hopefully change, or my experience as a human being will hopefully change not only externally but like internally. That's exciting also, because sort of relating back to the previous question about what am I afraid of, like another thing I was thinking about recently is like I just sort of realized that the way that I respond, like just naturally to like things that make me mad or things that make me sad or things that make me feel like I'm like at odds with something or something, like the way that I respond emotionally to that hasn't changed my whole life. And I'm in my 30s now. And I was thinking about it, was like, is that a problem? Like, is that bad that hasn't changed? You know? And some part of me says, yeah, that might not be good. You might need to like address that.
Do you overreact?
I don't think well,
or are you quick? I mean, I guess define, because everything you mentioned is amygdala activation.
Oh, okay.
Like, period. Like that's fight or flight. Like with that, I'm curious, is that, I mean, we don't have to go too deep into that. I'm just,
do I overreact? I guess it's kind of hard to say. You know what I mean? Because me overreacting could seem normal to someone else.
Well, you're saying like, should it change? You know, that's what I'm curious about. Like,
well, I guess I was just thinking about like, the real question is like, should I be having the same feelings about certain things as I did when I was a teenager?
You're talking about specifics then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
you know,
that makes sense.
Like,
not just generally, like.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I guess it's kind of hard to explain. Like, should I be, like, I don't know if you feeling angry feels the same for you. Like, just as like like physically speaking, like, I don't know if that feels the same for you as it does for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it might feel different for you. It might be a totally different sensation, you know? I don't really know what that's about. I've never looked into it, you know? But maybe there's supposed to be some sort of update as you get older. And maybe it's just about, like, emotional maturity or something, you know? Like, maybe, like, it kind of, that freaks me out. Continuing to grow old, but stay in the same sort of emotional bracket or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want that.
Yeah. Have you been through therapy?
No.
Man, I will say,
I feel like I'm on the verge.
It's incredible.
I feel like I'm self-aware enough to where I could diagnose myself with certain things or something like that, but like,
I used to say the same kind of thing. Like I was very aware and like, who could I get to actually help me? Because like, I need someone who is intelligent and I need someone who's thoughtful and like my reality. And,
I need someone who's going to be able to see through my bullshit.
I think what I realized was therapy was entirely different than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I lucked out and had an awesome therapist right away. And
just BetterHelp ad.
I went through BetterHelp to start.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
This is
not sponsored, by the way.
I mean, I'm saying it'd be so funny, like, you know, if that was like the segue.
Yeah.
Like,
I've actually, totally. It is incredible though, and something that I definitely advocate for. And it was scary to jump in, and it was not scary once I was in. I was like, oh, this is amazing. It became addictive, like, because you know.
I'm sure it is great. I mean, that's the whole thing. It seems like a real hassle to find the right person, you know?
Yeah. I'm literally saying, to me, it's like, let's just like having any type of coach, you know, for anything.
Yeah.
A guitar teacher and getting blood work done at the doctor or whatever, you know, it's like, like it's just that stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So,
what am I excited about?
Well, but what are you excited about? But also, what, I guess, asked in a different way, if everything went perfectly for you, what does life look like? Like, what are you going, you're saying like the fruits of my labor, but what does life look like for you if everything went perfectly?
I think with my career, you know, my goal is to build an artist career, like a catalog as a songwriter, and a composer and a multi-instrumentalist and a producer, to the point where like people that are coming up after me want me to work on their records too, you know? I don't really aspire to, like, if I were to seek any sort of fame or any of that kind of stuff, like that's the kind I would want, to where it's like, if you're into music, you know who I am.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Rick Rubin level.
Sure. Well,
yeah.
I don't know about that, but I guess that wouldn't be terrible, but you know what I mean? It's like, let's see, like, more like, what's the guy's name? It's produced like most of the Radiohead records. Fuck, I can't think of his name. Anyway, somebody's gonna drop it in the comments, I'm sure. Yeah. And be like, yeah, but yeah, that kind of thing. As far as my career goes, yeah, like that's ultimately what I want. You know, I want to be a touring act. I want to work on other people's records. I want to have, you know, relationships in different parts of, you know, like sync licensing and stuff like that, you know, and really ultimately I would like to be at a point where I get to choose to do things that are interesting to me and not have to, like, you know, try and pitch myself to, you know, every open micer in Nashville, be like, hey, you should come record with me, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's such a grind and such a waste of your time, you know, or at least it can be, you know. It's like, to me, like, that's just not very special thing, you know. And I feel like, just based on what I was talking about earlier, you know, like, the whole being a vessel thing, you know, it's like my songs are like one of one. Every song is one of one. Like, they're, you know, some of my songs might sound similar to other people's or whatever, but like for me, it's like I can't really write the same song twice. I don't aspire to do that. And I think overall, like in the grand scheme of like music, it's, you know, they're all pretty fairly unique to me.
Yeah.
You know,
how do people best champion you?
Best champion me? I think, you know, in the most, you know, obviously you have, you know, I have merch. I have,
and how do you?
You mean like non? Like you mean like non?
I mean, it could be taken two ways, right? Like on one end, like I am asking, like literally, how do people best champion you? But then I also am kind of wanting to get into the mechanism, or just ask, because I'm curious of like, how do you champion other artists? Like like how do you, you know? There's both of those sides. Like, well, you know,
for me as an artist, it's different from somebody who's not an artist. Like I know how the sausage is made. I prefer it if people, to some degree, I prefer it if people that are fans of my music don't know how the sausage is made. You know what I mean? Because then the relationship is more pure. Their patronage and their fandom is purely out of the love from what they experience when they listen to my music without analyzing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what you want. You know, that's the goal, to contribute to people's lives in a way that is like, you know, just like
I want to challenge you a little bit on that, bit, like just for fun. I mean, part of it has to do with AI, but also some stuff I see you doing on social media. Right?
Yeah,
like one on like the AI front, like you hit a button and it creates a pretty amazing song right now already.
Yeah,
and it's just going to get better and better and better. Same thing with video stuff, all that stuff. So, like as a human.
Yeah,
I want to be attached to artists that have a real life, that really do stuff. And so, all I was going to push back on, I guess, is like, I think it sounds like, again, you said you romanticize things at times, right? So like, I think maybe you're romanticizing what you want the people to want, but not necessarily what they do want. And so I'm cycling back over to say, I think it's cool that you're like giving a breakdown of the songs. Here's what it means for me. Here's what the process was like. You know, like, has that been good for you? And why are you doing that?
I mean, I think it's ultimately creating content in that way, loads of content on social media is not really like the biggest benefit. I think is just it creating a sense of familiarity and like sort of reliability and like trust with people. Nothing I've done has gone viral except for like one video on TikTok like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Very few things that I've made have gone like even close to sub-viral. But what I have achieved and my consistency with social media has gotten me is like opportunities like this one right here. It's more like word of mouth. All the shows that I played in 2023, I didn't book a single one of them. I played at most of the venues in Nashville that I wanted to play. But I got invited by other people because they saw what I was doing. And they were like, I want to, let's do something together, So I guess that's the reason that, it's just do your due diligence no matter what.
Yeah.
It's part of the job. Everybody's got an Instagram. Mm-hmm. You're not special because, some of your content might be special. But it's just the reality of it, man. Like these platforms don't give a shit about us. Mm-hmm. They do not care.
And one big viral video is not going to make you anything. Like, in my opinion, like, obviously there could be some like money behind it, and you might gain some more followers. But having that consistent content that, like you said, you continue to show up. I mean, I continually see you in my feed, and I'm like, oh yeah, like you're there more so than like if you had one, 10 million views or something, of one of your songs. Like I would have like seen it maybe and then be like, oh cool, that's a song, and then forgotten. Like,
depends on how the algorithms really work, either way that content is there forever.
Right.
So that's a benefit to it. But, I don't know, man. I definitely thought that being as consistent as I have been would garner more of like a metric sort of boost. Mm-hmm. But it's okay that it hasn't, because I've yet to create my a masterpiece yet. So
yeah. Well, what's next on that front? With where are you going now musically? I mean,
I'm going the opposite direction. Yeah, I'm going like much simpler. Because like all the production on this record that I'm putting out, or this EP is, it's just action packed, and I was really concerned with trying to take these songs and make them really pop sensible and really sort of like engaging at as often as possible. It's like trying to re-engage the listener and trying to keep their attention and all that stuff. But like, there's like again, like what I was talking about earlier before we started like filming or whatever, like, just taking your songs, like just as testing their, testing them for their salt or however you put it, and not dressing them up too much, trying to hide anything or trying to make them seem like they're better than they are by using like too much bullshit, you know what I mean? Too many frills, too much ear candy, mm-hmm. Like it's not, it might sound cool, it might whatever, but like, real songwriters don't really need all that shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the real ones, their voice and an instrument is all they need.
Yeah.
And I think, if you can do that and then you get all the other stuff too, then you're just
totally,
you're winning across the board.
Your candy on top of a good song is like amazing, but
exactly,
if you use it to hide a bad song, sadly, at least at the moment, still works a lot. But yeah,
that is what most people are doing, I think, and so I don't know. I don't want to like be too critical or whatever. But
I mean, it's not helpful to villainize any other artist. That's like counterproductive. But
no, it's not. But also, like, I do sort of think that if people are supporting like a phony, they should know it. And because the less of that we have, the better the world could be, I think. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's becoming, I mean, the industry has been, of course, exploding and becoming more and more and more saturated with more and more and more content for a long time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you throw AI into the mix, and it's like, it's just infinite. And still, like I say, it's like, actually, let's just say it's pretty good. And we can argue, debate, whatever, but the point is, like, that'll date itself really quickly. So like in a year, it'll be a whole other story. And so I think it comes down to, at least for me, the human experience. Like it's the going over and actually playing those real piano keys and feeling the strings and feeling the emotion that comes through, that like you were talking about, where you channel something from somewhere that you don't know what it is, and it's just like universal library of ideas that's flowing through, and it's like it's magic, and you're
vibrations, man.
Yeah, vibrations, man. I love the idea of that first step where you go away and you're creating something. It's a slab that you then get to like refine. You know, it'd be cool.
Yeah, that's my shit, man.
Yeah,
chipping away.
I love it.
Chipping away at that slab.
I love it. What advice would you give to other artists that you, I mean, or do you give to other artists that you really like? You're like, I love your stuff, and here's what you should be doing, or whatever.
I try not to give unsolicited advice. I used to do that a lot. And I feel like you kind of have to make sure that somebody can handle that before you just sort of constructively criticize them, you know, because a lot of people can't.
Right.
So, yeah. That would depend on what level that I sort of think they're at, how experienced they are.
Okay, so I'm getting started, and I want to have an artist page. We'll say, give me advice.
Like just like an artist page. Like, you mean?
I'm not even saying. No, I'm not just social media. I'm just saying, like, how do I become an artist or have a project that becomes successful?
Well, I mean, I'm still kind of figuring that out myself. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm successful currently in my own right. But I don't think that, I'm not sure that, other people would say the same thing.
So what is success to you? Sorry to cut you off.
To me, well, it's sort of what I described earlier. Like, real success for me is like, being prolific, making a living doing it, being able to just make enough money to keep going and reinvest and obviously this is without thinking about like, having a family or anything like that, like then that becomes obviously more complicated than that, depending on the dynamic of your relationship and all that. But like, real success is just being able to do it, and continuing to evolve as you do it, and also like having such a distinct thing that you have to offer that other people would like you to be involved in their thing. You know what I mean? That's real success in music to me.
Yeah.
And as far as like, I don't know how else you could like measure it. You know what I mean? I don't have an ideal amount of money that I want to have in my bank account. I don't have an ideal amount of square footage that I would like in my house. I don't even think about buying a house. Like, I think you're crazy if you are like my age or younger and you're like, I'm going to like make my life about buying a house. Like, what is wrong with you? How are you, like, I don't know. That's, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do.
It's like we're in such a
I don't understand it, but I don't judge it. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't mean to sound judgmental. I just like to waste some of your best years just worried about some bullshit like that it's sad to me. That is sad that's what we're conditioned to do, and people are worried about like, oh, what's my grandma gonna think? Or, you know what I mean? It's like, who cares what your grandma thinks, dude? Like, like, respect to grandmas, but bro, your grandma lived her life. I mean, depending on whether she's still around or not, right? But like, she lived her life the way that she thought she was supposed to live it. Don't let that affect you. Don't let her shit affect how you want to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, go do your thing.
Totally.
You know?
What do you want people to think and know about you?
Man, that's a pretty vague question.
I think more specifically, you could rephrase it as like, what would you want people to say about you behind your back?
Oh,
like when you leave the room, it's like, man, that guy, awesome, whatever.
I would like people to think that I'm, encouraging, warm, hopefully inspiring. That I think everybody that meets me understands that I'm passionate. But I think depending on who I'm around, that is like sort of that can be a bit of a turnoff for some people, because passionate people are sort of like anomalies in a lot of situations, because it's not really very socially acceptable to be like very passionate about in a lot of cases, I think, because we get ahead of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I mean,
but you shouldn't be ashamed about it.
I'm not ashamed about it.
I know. Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
I honestly, I'm kind of at a point in my life where, I'm willing to be the villain in someone's story.
Sure.
If that's what I have to be.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I've done enough good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to do good, but I'm not concerned with a lot of that anymore.
Right.
I
know one.
It's called boundaries. I have boundaries that I had to discover. I had to figure that out. That I had to learn that I was trying to, I was caring too much about people that didn't give a shit about me.
Yeah.
Being too empathetic to people that don't deserve that treatment from me, that energy, that effort. You know what I mean? When most people cannot reciprocate that because they're too up here, or they're too like, you know what I mean? Self-absorbed. They got their own shit going on. Maybe their lives have been more difficult than mine. I don't know. But that's not my problem. You're not going to make that my problem. Right? So as far as what I want people to think about me, think what you want. You're going to perceive me the way that you perceive me. But just know that my intentions are pure.
Right. I was going to say genuine seems like a reasonable word to summarize a lot of that. It's like, you're passionate. And I mean, and I've experienced that and seen that too, and I love that. I think that's great. I mean, I'm a champion of meeting interesting, thoughtful, intelligent people to have conversation about ideas, right?
Totally. Yeah.
I'm pretty bored with, certain subject matters, we'll say.
Yeah.
But weather and sports, or, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, being, because like if you're like an artist and you're trying to like put yourself on a platform, right? Or you're trying to like, you are trying to lift yourself up as opposed to like, because you kind of have to do that at first in order for other people to like get behind you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird thing. It's almost, I think it's hard for people, a lot of people, to see you as like humble or something like that, or like empathetic, or like just like as a good person in general. I think it's hard for people to see you as a good person, but also see you as somebody who's like trying to like put yourself above other people in a way.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's something that I kind of struggle with in a way. I'm like, so I kind of just don't think about it anymore. You
seem like someone who's promoting yourself as an artist as opposed to a character that you made up.
Yeah.
That is, on the back end, which seems like a much more respectful way to treat an audience, for one.
Right.
But also a more easy, at least for me, an easier thing to promote. And I think a lot of people might find it easier to hide behind a character that they create and do that stuff. But that to me is it's difficult. And I've had an uncomfortable relationship with understanding how to self-promote. And I mean, just the podcast idea for me is helpful because I get to help other people have conversations at the same time as me being part of it,
Yeah.
So
I think what you're talking about is more like entertainment. Like that's like, that's like the entertainment business. That's a way to like sort of break through with that. Like I've never really thought about myself as like an entertainer. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if what I'm doing is entertaining, but that's not really my goal. Like there's enough entertainment in the world. We're entertaining ourselves to death, dude.
Right.
Like, like I just feel like there can be like there's something deeper that exists, and that's what I want to stay in touch with. That's what I want to like try and like transmit to other people. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I love James Brown. I love Michael Jackson. Some of the greatest fucking entertainers ever. And they were cultural icons. And they impacted culture in a way for, certain people that changed the world, right? But I don't think that's me.
So if it's not entertainment, is your art, philosophy? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That and more.
It's art.
Yeah.
What would your goal be if it's not entertainment?
Transformation, transcendence, transcending tribalism, like transcending the tropes that are like, that our world are sort of like human, the world that we've constructed, like trying to transcend that and like, go inside instead of like, pandering and, doing all this shit that can make you a success in an industry. The music industry, as far as like major labels and all that kind of stuff, like, we don't really need that stuff anymore, right? So it's like, I mean, it's all metaphysical, man, like physicality that's aware of itself, I guess. Is that what metaphysical? I don't know. But like, yeah, like that's, like maybe it's God, and I just don't realize it, There's a different intention behind every song. Like my record, Temerity, is, it's a 4-part story of like sort of my experience of going from like this young, abashed, like well-meaning but like unknowingly sort of like toxic individual, like early on when I started like getting into like relationships and stuff like that, going from like I don't know, it's a couple different things. It's like, could I stay here is like that sort of phase. It's like the cupcake phase where you don't really know what you're doing but you're like really excited about it, right? And then Judy is sort of the part where it's like, I'm encountering these like the shit that's wrong with me that I could not have realized beforehand because, I didn't come from that sort of upbringing, It wasn't like my parents are, older. My family, I come from older people, so mental health. First time I ever heard my dad say the phrase mental health was like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? That was not a thing that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I grew up getting my ass whooped with a belt. You know what I mean? That's, yeah, let's talk about mental health. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But damn, I'm getting off track again.
No, you're okay. You're okay. So Judy was about that, and then
sort of encountering the the forces within myself, I guess, like, it's like I'm apologizing. It's an apology song. It's not a love song. It's really just saying, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was so fucked up. Like, don't give up on me,
Yeah.
And don't give up on us, rather. And then, liner notes is kind of like about, realizing that the reason that I ended up in that situation essentially was because I have been using music, my obsession with music, as an escape, a way to avoid having to deal with that stuff. And so, it's like, it's just me sort of like, it's like almost like unmasking or something, it's you might just find your name in liner notes because I was incapable of really like fully like engaging in a relationship because I didn't really know, like I didn't have the vocabulary or like the tools or like the way to like, it was easier for me to just like be a musician and be like, dedicate myself to that than.
Yeah. So you want your music to maybe reflect the reality of your moment, right? I mean, like every time, like,
I guess like, I just want it to be helpful. I just want my music to be helpful. Music has been an extremely helpful thing for me. As Bob Marley said, did he actually say this? I don't know. But, it's like the beautiful thing about music is when it hits you, you feel no pain. Live, laugh, love. But, like, that's the, I want to be helpful. That's what I want to do.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with other people you think might gain value from it. My name is Seth Schaefer. This is Behind the Act.